with just for clarity, because again, as we're open to all forms of how people sustain recovery, right? We're not doctors, we're not clinicians. We like giving people an opportunity to hear all these different solutions, because the way we got sober may not be the way you got sober, and that's why we do this. So a cure, so is your belief though is that you were cured of this and that you were still abstinence of drugs and alcohol? Can you just dive into that? Because some people may think or hear that, you say a cure and now you're able to go back out and use, right? So, or to drink.
Or that you're California sober.
Well, let's hear about this.
Quick. Yeah, no, I'm not California sober. But no, it's a great question, Jason, because that's that word, in the recovery world is so taboo.
Yeah.
Right. That word, if it ever comes up, people are like, it really causes a ruckus amongst the different recovery pathways. Right. So I think to maybe explain the cure, I think I was cured for me, again, this is my personal journey. Mm-hmm. I believe it is possible to permanently break the cycle of addiction. I do believe that. And the reason I say that is, if someone says, well, you're still an addict, Aaron, I said, well, can you tell me what I'm addicted to today? Because I don't know. If you're telling me I'm addicted, if I'm an addict, if I'm always going to be an addict after my transformation and where I'm at, I just don't understand what I'm addicted to. So
can I ask you a question? Again, this is great. This is a great conversation. This is not usually what we do for this, but I want to hear it this way.
Come on.
I love it.
With that being said, though, because I believe, and I'm following what you're saying, and I'm not saying that I disagree with you necessarily, but what my question would be though is once the obsession is gone from the substances, though, but a lot of the problem that I have though is with the thing that's in between my ears. So how do you decipher? Does that make sense what I'm asking? How do you decipher those two different things? Because maybe I'm not struggling with the substances, but the thing that drove me to the substances is still sitting in my head.
Great question. So I love it. I love where we're going with this, only because this is so important to have this dialogue. Because there's people out there that need to hear this. That this may resonate with them. It doesn't resonate. But so I'm not addicted to drugs or alcohol or gambling like I was. I went through some massive gambling addiction for years. I'm not addicted to those things anymore because I don't want those things anymore in my life. I have no desire to drink or use drugs. Zero.
Okay.
I have no desire to gamble. I've been to Vegas several times. I didn't gamble once.
Right.
So to say I'm addicted to something, I guess I don't know how that's true, because I believe I broke the cycle of addiction to drugs and alcohol and gambling and things I was addicted to. Now, have I recently learned that there are some things that are still plaguing my life from my addiction days and from some of the residual effects of addiction? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I would like to share a few of those things here in a little bit, but to say that I'm an addict addicted to drugs and alcohol and gambling, I'm not. It's been 6 years. And again, I have zero desire to do any of them, because there's a saying that I tell people, I'm like, there's a big difference between can't have and don't want.
Right. No, I like that.
I don't want drugs and alcohol. I don't want to gamble.
So okay, and I hear what you're saying. Okay, because a lot of people, in the places that I've ventured, some people have a sudden amazing life shift. Some people it's a gradual thing. So what are the tools that you use? Let's say you're upset. Let's say, what do you do about your resentments? What do you do about your fears?
What do you do? And more on top of that, what do you do about that overinflated ego, underestimated sense of self-worth that you struggled with and
the acceptance?
But because those are a lot. Again, that goes back to drinking and drugging is not that was our solution. That's not the problem, right? So I guess that's
just a thing.
How do you to her point? How do you deal with all those things?
So, in other words, what program do I work? Right? Well, how do I?
Yeah. What's your program?
That's what. Yeah. So what are your solution?
So I do a lot of maintenance. So I believe in maintenance. I also, before I go too far, to give you a little bit of help understanding how I had such a massive perspective shift about the way I looked at drugs and alcohol and the need to escape. I read a little book when I was in treatment that for some reason really shifted my perspective about how I was, why, and the why I was escaping, turning to drugs and alcohol. It was called Zen and the Art of Happiness.
Mm-hmm. Know it
and
well.
I read this book. Sometimes people read these books and they go, it like changes them, right? Sometimes the book has the power to do things like that. And so I think it was my excitement to be unhooked, my perspective change of how I was looking at the reasons I was escaping. Like, Aaron, why are you drinking and using drugs? Not like you said, Jason, it's just, those are just the result of, those are just the effect, why was I turning to drugs and alcohol was really something I became very intrigued by when I was in treatment. So like, this makes no sense to drink and use like this to almost to where you're killing yourself and ruining your life. Why are you doing this, Aaron? So I got into the underlying causes. I started looking at the way I felt about certain things or events or my children or my this or my that. And I started to not only forgive myself, but I also started to go, maybe there's a reason these things happen, almost giving them some validity or substance and like becoming okay with the way things were versus trying to change or regret what has happened. Like I embraced my life as a perfect chain of events versus a lot of debacles and missteps and misfortunes and bad accidents. And I started to really have a feeling of sense of peace in my life because I felt like everything that had happened to me was the best thing that could have happened to me up to that point.
Right.
And it somehow subsided just enough, the need to escape, to where then I could start to work a program, right? Like I was almost able to become okay with all of the things that I was drinking and using drugs over for all those years. I'm like, yeah, that happened, and maybe it was meant to happen. Okay, cool.
So would it be fair to say then? I mean, again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm kind of hearing you say is, yeah, you're not addicted to the substances or the vices, gambling, sex, and whatever those things may have been, right? But again, is that component of your life may be cured, right? Quote, but there's still because what I'm hearing you say, those are still areas that you have to work on a daily basis because you may go back to those other areas. Is that fair to say?
I think I would go back. That's fair to say. I think there's some behaviors that I think I still have. I have just like everybody. I have a ton of work to do on myself. I've just recently gone through some events in the past 6 months that rocked my sobriety like nothing has before. And
can you share that with us?
Still, absolutely. I'd love to. I do believe, guys, that fitness and nutrition and the way I felt and the way I started to look, and I started to get my self-confidence back, and I had a great support system at home. My children, the relationship with my children started to come back. So I started to rebuild a life after addiction that gave me that momentum, right, to really feel good about myself again and start to love myself again and start to really enjoy my life, where I'm like, I don't want to escape from my life. I actually really like my life. So I don't want to escape from it, this new life that I'm creating after addiction, but I guess, that was how the first 5 years went. And then I got into the recovery industry. 2 years into my sobriety, I became a sober coach. Mm-hmm. And of course, anyone will tell you working in treatment helps you with your own recovery. And so I got to start working with some really amazing people that were inspiring to me and were so brave, and their stories were so incredible and so powerful that it really fueled my own recovery. So 2 years after I got sober, becoming a sober coach played a huge role in I think of my growth in sobriety and my recovery journey.
It's a form of accountability for sure.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, because I was helping people because I wanted to help people just like some people had helped me. I became very passionate about helping people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so my sober coaching business, it really took off. And I think I was able to help people not just in recovery, but also a lifestyle change. Because not in my recovery, guys, it wasn't just about sobriety. It was about becoming my best. I wanted to look and feel my best. I wanted to eat really healthy and exercise. I wanted to do sound therapy, and I wanted to do all these things that I knew were nurturing and massaging my recovery. And I think that plays a huge part in my longevity and sobriety.
But what was the downfall? You said that you went through a major transition, though.
Oh man, yeah. This is fresh too. So, I had love. Love is a powerful drug.
Yes, it is.
And I fell in love for the first time in my life, and And I didn't know that I had never fallen in love before. I'm 45 years old. And I had never been in love, truly in love. And when you fall in love, it and then you get your heart broken. I've worked with people that have had relapses come as part of a heartbreak,
one of the number one offenders,
or a divorce, or something.
One of the number one offenders.
and I got a big dose of it, and this past year, and so when the curtain fell at the end of last year, I got rocked, and I looked in my sobriety tool belt, that I had a lot of tools. I thought, I'd like to answer your question, Hilary, like what do you do when these things happen, whenever these, and I looked down at my sobriety tool belt and I didn't have a tool for heartbreak. And I went into a very, 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 very dark place. It brought up a lot of feelings and emotions of active addiction of I'm not lovable.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough. Mm-hmm. No one's gonna ever really love me. Is there something wrong with me? So a lot of these feelings you have in active addiction about yourself and the lack of self-love, I think when you get your heart broken, I think the danger is that a lot of those can come up pretty quickly.
Well, you know what I'm hearing you,
and for me, they did.
Hearing you say though was triggered though is a lot of what you just stated is what you felt when you moved from Missouri to Nebraska.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Excuse me. I was very alone. I was instantly alone. And not just physically, but I felt alone and isolated and unloved, and just so many other just this whirlwind of emotion that no matter how much, even with all the exercise and nutrition or yoga or whatever in the world, it doesn't fix heartbreak. Anyone that's ever felt true heartbreak will know there's nothing you can do to truly, other than time.
So what'd you do? Yeah, what'd you do? Time. What'd you do for the heartbreak?
So, the heartbreak, it lasted a while, and it's still there, to be honest with you. But what was interesting was right when this all happened, like literally when this happened, like literally when the implosion happened, I was starting my new sober living project. Like I had literally committed to doing this new project, and I decided to abandon my coaching business for the most part and to take this gigantic sober living project on that I had dreamed of starting for years. I had dreamed of this project for years. So as my career was about to have a dream, this most incredible thing just happened to me. I couldn't believe how perfect it was. My personal life, it's like they crossed. You know what I mean? Like one was going like this, and literally it was just like boom, and. So what happened, guys? I'm telling you, I did the 911 thing. I went into therapy. I reached out to a therapist. I started going to therapy 4 times a week. I reached out to people that I knew that were in recovery, and I started talking to them a couple times a day. I kept exercising every single day, like I knew I did. I almost went into autopilot with a 911 phone call to several people. I did what I coach people to do, and that's reach out for help.
Right.
Because I knew that I knew that I needed help. And and again, even in this really dark past 6 months that I've gone through, I just kept waking up and trying to put one foot in front of the other. But what's weird, guys, is that no matter what I did, I just didn't feel that emptiness and that aloneness and that heartbreak and that pain I was feeling. It wasn't going away. No matter how many people I talked to a day, no matter how many times I talked to my mom or this guy or that guy or went and worked out or whatever I could do, it wasn't working. And I remember the day. I walked into the room at this sober living house, and it was in the dead of winter. We had a terrible winter here in Nebraska this year. It was crazy. It's like -20 for weeks. And I hit my knees.
Come on.
And I prayed, and I had forgotten, because for 27 years I had turned my back on God.
Wow.
When I was 18, I said, God, I pretty much gave religion, spirituality, God, and everything in that arena the deuces, right? I said, I don't want this. I don't need this. This isn't for me. You can call it whatever you want, higher power, God, whatever. I said, I don't want it in my life. And so I was kind of a universe guy, if that makes sense. I was kind of a believer in the universe. After I got sober, I had this universal belief, like, hey, everything's perfect. It happens for a reason. But when I hit my knees that day, I begged God for help.
That's so good.
I said, I didn't even know how to pray at that point. It had been 27 years. And so I reached out to some people I knew that were part of this church that were up the street from the sober house here, from Ultimate Sober Living. And he's like, oh man, I'll meet you tomorrow for lunch. That Sunday I went to church. I started going to church every Sunday. I started praying my brains out and studying the word. And I went all in. I sent it. I went full send because I knew that no matter whatever tools I had in my toolkit weren't working. It wasn't bringing. I wasn't coming out of this darkness. I wasn't coming out of these feelings, and I wasn't coming out of this heartache and this pain and this betrayal. I mean, there was some people that I loved a lot betrayed me in the past 6 months. In fact, I've never been betrayed in my life like I've been in the past 6 months by some people I really loved and cared about. And betrayal is a tough thing to deal with. And so all of this was happening, and it was Easter Sunday, and I knew it was time, and I got saved and turned my life over to Christ on Easter Sunday.
Man,
I have goosebumps, my friend.
I mean, this just totally shows how no matter how we go, it's like, and I know you're still hurting, and I know you're still grieving. And I used to have 2 fingers in the air to God for everything I went through. And it was very hard for me to start praying. And but I got to tell you, I'm so there. You will have full relief. You will have full relief. And the fact that you're doing this, see, this is a huge testament. You didn't go back to your old ways, nor did you go into the casino, which that is a grace, that is a gift. There are other things that we can use. We can use people, we can use shopping, we can use all kinds of stuff. We can use rage, all these other things that can come up. But you're going all in on this other aspect. And how beautiful is that? What an example to go towards something that won't hurt, that God won't hurt you.
But Aaron, the thing that I'm taking away from this is, there's a saying that oftentimes it's God won't give you more than you can handle, which I don't believe in, because I actually think he does give you more than you can handle, so you can turn to him.
Bam, gosh, right, bro. That is the best thing you've ever said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bro.
Go play in traffic.
That was profound. That was deep.
But
that was good.
But that's the truth, though, because you're in a place where you were connected with that. Again, whether you believe in God or you don't, for our listeners,
right?
I'm a believer in God. I was baptized in the Jordan River. out in frickin' Israel.
Don't be bragging.
So,
we don't want to hear you brag.
Wow, that's
no, but my point though is for whatever it is. To each his own, like you're saying. But for that though, in a similar belief though, is I believe that God was doing for you what you couldn't do for yourself.
Boom.
And that's where that has come full circle, man. And I think it's truly incredible, because I think for our listeners too, the takeaway is that we're just because you're sober, in your abstinence of drugs and alcohol, how important and imperative it is to actually work some form of program. Because again, for me is I actually am hearing you say that you think that you didn't have things in your tool belt, but frankly you did, because you still are abstinent, right? And you are living a life in recovery. You actually are feeling pain that you have, you haven't even been able to be subject to that type of pain up until this last 4 or 5 years, right? Because that first year you're still trying to get your head straight, but the last 5 years of your sobriety, you actually set yourself up for an opportunity to have that. And I think it's looking at you want to be loved today where you didn't even love yourself enough, back over those last 15 years. So,
and the opportunity in this is that with that same pain that you have from back then, which triggers all of that, you're now able to utilize healthy things. And this is that opportunity. And I really believe that you're going to use this experience again to help other people. And that's all of our pain is that. That pain, it always helps us to use that to help others.
Well, look, all great change proceeds through chaos, man. And I think this is, we obviously, it's been 48 minutes. Because I think this is such a great opportunity for a 2-part series, because somebody that is in the space that knows, a lot of the things to do and to put into action to play, you still reach out for help. And I think that's why I wanted to continue this as a 2-part show.
Plus the vulnerability, Jay. I mean, being a guy, you're an athletic guy. You're all, we
got the Swiss Army knives for sports. We got the live GI Joe.
He's right here. Yeah, but you're also showing vulnerability, which is very beautiful, and also it helps other men, which is difficult for a lot of men to show that vulnerability.
No, I think one of the things I really want to stress to listeners, if I can send a message in this whole thing, is I had my spirit, my mental. I thought I was pretty mentally strong in my recovery. I felt like I was very physically in check with my recovery. I grossly underestimated the need for spirituality in your recovery, and I will say this: it is without question that was the missing piece of my recovery. And to say I took it 6 years. Like I did, and had the success in recovery that I had for 6 years, I ran out of steam.
Yeah.
And I think what happened was the Lord knew what my Achilles heel was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was heartbreak. It's like he's like, if you won't do it, I'll do it for you.
That's what I believe happened, bro.
And it's crazy. So I want to strongly recommend that people do not ignore any part of the mind, body, spirit thing. Whatever your spiritual journey is, I would plead with you out there. Even if you're working out every day and you're going to meetings, you're doing what you're doing, your thing. I mean, whatever your spiritual journey is, I think that spirituality is probably, now I realize, is probably the most important part of my recovery, and it wasn't even part of it for the 6 years that I thought I was crushing it.
That's our takeaway.
Well, that is our takeaway, but I wanted to just give an opportunity because we do close out, with an action for the day. I love that because I think that was a more robust piece. But if you were to give somebody something actionable today, what would it be?
One thing to do today. I'm going to say pray.
Yeah.
If you're going to do anything, pray. And whoever that's to, that's up to you. That's your journey. That's your decision. But I would tell you to pray. And then go to the gym.
Yeah.
And eat broccoli and broiled chicken.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. And then eat really healthy but no, pray.
Well, Aaron, this is. Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you. No, thank you. I know. It's crazy here. Even my it's like my mom's like, I can't believe I lived to see this, Aaron. She goes, I always knew you'd come back. But it's just it's hard for me to believe even sometimes too. But guys, I'm a believer. And I'm here to tell you that the power of prayer and turning your life over to God has some pretty miraculous benefits.
Aaron, your story is incredible, and I really appreciate you taking this, the extra time to finish it out. And if people want to find out more about you or about your, sober living or the sober coaching, where can they find you?
So the website, even though it's not up, but we're on, our YouTube video is up. It's Ultimate Sober Living. That will be the URLs and coming soon. We are just days from launching this thing. I've been working on it for 6 months. Even with all the pain, I've somehow chipped away at this thing. And we are going to launch here in July, but ultimatesoberliving.com, or you can go to YouTube. We're on, Instagram, Ultimate Sober Living. It's a transformational house for highly motivated men in early recovery. It's going to be pretty neat. And I'm everything I know about addiction recovery, including my recent spiritual recovery, is going to be part of this program. And this is a dream come true for me, guys, but to open this sober living and literally take everything I've learned in my own journey, the people I've worked with, their journey, the panel of experts I've sat on for the University of Nebraska Medical Center for years, and take everything I know about it and put all my passion and all my drive and all my love and everything I have into this program and try and help these guys turn their life around.
That's beautiful.
Well done, man. Well, we wish you the best of luck with that.
Yes.
Obviously, let us know when it's open. We'd love to maybe even get out there and check it out, man. So keep doing it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'd love to have you out. Yeah, please.
Not in wintertime. Thank you very much.
No, I would strongly recommend spring or fall.
Well, one of my best friends actually lives in Nebraska, Talent-Torreiro. So it would be a good time I need to visit him anyway. So, but again, Aaron, thank you so much for coming on, man. Appreciate your story and keep up the good work, man.
Thank you for sharing your heart.
You're going to impact a lot of people.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate you. And it's been a pleasure.
God bless you, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.